Welcome to the IGEL Community and our technical tips and tricks videos. My name is Sebastian Perusat, Director of Community and Senior Engineer. Today I will guide you through the process of how to use Slack and the IGEL Community. We put it together the most asked questions regarding the daily usage of the IGEL Community. So that's the topic that we will cover today. Most of them are related to the Slack client itself in web or the full-blown desktop client, but some parts are also related to your profile. Now let's just jump over to the typical information that we request from you. Just because every component, every customer, every issue is different, it would be great if you could provide from the beginning on all the related informations to your issue. Starts over the IGEL OS, IGEL UMS, IGEL Cloud Gateway versions, goes over the Terminal Server VDI solution version, but also the way how to reproduce it. And if you already raised a ticket at our support, it would definitely be helpful to inform us, if you already did that we can maybe look at the ticket itself. And I know it sounds quite common, but if you could try to reproduce the issue on another hardware, it would definitely be helpful if we could get that feedback in the main thread. Now let's jump into the IGEL Slack client. Now we'll show you how to start the Slack client. We do assume that you already installed the Slack client on your PC or Mac or Linux computer. So we just went through the process of logging in and entering our passcode. Now we are asked to open the Slack client itself. In case your company is blocking the Slack communication because of security reasons or whatever reason, you can also use the Slack client on your mobile phone. So you can install the Slack client on iOS, on Android, but also use it directly from the web browser itself. So you're not obliged to do that on your company. Wi-Fi or network, you can also use that obviously via LTE or whatever broadcast that you're using. Now I will show you how to navigate to a channel. And we should see now the general overview about everything which is inside of Slack. You will get a first notification from Doug explaining you the general approach, and that's what we will cover now in a movie in our tutorial today. So what you are seeing here is the general channel on the left side, list of everything which is included in the IGEL community per default. There are a lot of channels, and I must say that every channel has its own purpose. So we have no channels which will be used 2 times for the same topic. No, we are sharing sometimes the same information in different channels, but each channel has its own topic. Now I will show you how to read messages. So let's start with the most common use case of Slack and of the IGEL community is reading a message. So one of the most used channels is IGEL OS, which is covering mostly every question that comes up regarding our own operating system. It can start with bug questions or just asking other people, hey, do you ever had the same behavior like I do? Or if you have something quite specific, like in that case installing the IGEL OS in a Xen server hypervisor, you will have the ability to read the main question, and every question is separated by its user. So this part is one message, and the second part here, coming from Eric, is another one. So reading a message is quite simple. Since you already moved to the channel itself, you now have the ability to check all the messages by scrolling up. So you will see the older messages on the top of Slack, and you can then just scroll or use the scrolling cursor on the right hand to move from one question to another. Now I will show you how to reply in a thread. We are trying to keep an overview, and the moderator like Ronair, like Douglas Brown or myself, or even Chris Bates or Josh Locher or Lars Glockner, are trying to keep everything in line. So sometimes that's something that we will show in a couple of seconds. If you enter something in the chat or in the thread menu, if you hit enter, it would be posted. So it would not enter a break row like you would expect. That's another topic. And that's something that we try to keep. So every question is in one specific thread and not in sub questions, in sub lines. So coming back to reading a message, you see now that we have a couple of replies to that specific thread. Let's jump in clicking on View Thread or just click to Replies. Then you will see on the right hand the main question, but then also the answers, the replies to the main question. So like usual, the older entries are on the top, newer ones on the bottom. So now you might ask, how should I answer to that if I have a question or maybe an answer to the topic? Please do not send the question in the main window, but really in the same thread like here. Just go in here to reply and check if you can add some value to that thread. As soon as you enter something like, hello, my name is whatever, and you would hit enter now, the message will be sent. So it's equivalent to clicking send message. So if you want to enter something else in the second row, please keep the uppercase key pressed and then enter, and then you will be able to create a second row. And here we go. Please try to avoid to forget that, just for the simple reason that we try to keep, like I said, everything aligned and keep organized, because if someone is searching for a specific keyword and he would see just this one message, he will expect to get the answer in the same thread as a main question, which will not happen if you send a first, or let's say a new message in the main channel. And now you can basically move from every channel and see what other channels would give back to you. A good start is always to go to Community Chit Chat and to send a first notification about you being there, giving maybe some information about yourself and your expectation to the IGEL community. So let's start with the first message in the main thread here, because I want to start a new topic. And that's it. Just entering enter or clicking the send message will just send out the message to the whole company. So let's see what happened. Oh, we already got 2 replies and 1 emoticon showed up. So like before, I will just click on 2 replies to see who replied and which text. And I see that Douglas and myself answered something. Okay, that's great. So now the next step would be to answer them, maybe just to be. Now I will show you how to use set and read reactions. So now we answered directly into the thread. So that's exactly what we would like to see if you want to post something. So now you see that you got let's say a reaction to your message. That's something that we are using quite often to signalize that we have seen the message, or that we like the message, that we are, let's say, sad that you post maybe a specific error that you already know. So it's just sending out a reaction. It doesn't mean that it's meant to be an answer. In specific case it might, but we are just saying, hey, we are there, we have seen you and we have seen your question, and we are feeling a specific emotion regarding to your message. So that's what you are doing by choosing here one of your preferred emoticons. So it's just clicking on this symbol, so just adding a reaction. And sometimes it's just fun. Sometimes it's something that you might need because you want to express a specific process behind of it. So that's what we are usually doing if we see that an issue was solved inside of the IGEL community. So you would do us an enormous favor, even if it's something that you might not know or even maybe just forget. But if you have the feeling that someone helped you on that specific thread, we would like to see you, if you can, to check the completed emoticons, which is showing just over here. That would help us in our report to see how many cases, how many questions could be entered in the IGEL community. Not mandatory, but like I said, would be extremely helpful. Now I will show you how to use the search function. So now the next step, I guess, is, because you don't want to scroll through every channel to find something which is related to a topic you want to address or to fix, is to use the search function. The search function in Slack is extremely powerful, and in my opinion, if you learn to use it as something which is extremely easy to use, even if sometimes it's a bit complicated to get a good overview. So let's start with clicking on the search symbol on top of the window, and then searching for any kind of keyword you would like to understand. Let's maybe jump into the 802.1x, which is meant for network authentication mainly. And now it will search every message in every channel in the whole IGEL community, in all public channels. So it might be a mess to get a specific information what you're looking for. So you see that we have a couple of threads where this topic was coming up. But yeah, seems like it's quite difficult to find what I'm looking for. So let's see if I would like to limit it to a specific thread, because I know that I do not want to get information about the network authentication on UMS side, but I want to get it on IGEL OS side. So then you can say in ... and then with a dash, searching in a specific channel. In my case, I would like to use IGEL OS. So hitting enter now should give me now just information coming from IGEL OS and no other channels anymore. Okay, that looks pretty good, and I would say that it fits mainly in what I would expect. But now let's go to the next step. That's saying that, okay, I remember it was on IGEL OS, but I also remember that someone specific like Ronair answered that question. So now you can say from ... and then instead of the dash, which is only meant for the channels, I'm using the arrow bar symbol and choosing a specific user. So it will automatically fulfill the list. If it's not fulfilling, like you are seeing on the screen for the moment, it's highly possible that you are not using the right syntax. Because as soon as you hit from ... arrow bar without any spaces in it, it should automatically complete the name of the user. So it will search also in our contact base. Click now on the search and you are getting only answers from Ronair inside of IGEL OS matching the pattern 802.1x. And that looks pretty accurate. But still, I'm seeing answers from 2021. Sometimes you will get also results from 2018, 19 or whatever. So if you would remember that the answer came in the actual year, so to say in 2022 in my case, you can use the search pattern which is called after. Obviously you can also use other ones, but we are focusing on that. And you already get some suggestions from the search engine. So now you see that it's proposing some specific months or specific years, and that's exactly what we are searching for. So I'm just clicking on it and I'm seeing that after 2021, I'm getting the exact message I was searching for. So let's now delete everything inside of that search window, or just click clear. And now you can see that you can also set specific filters directly from the search function. So you do not have to remember that there is a from or after, whatever. It just helps you a little bit to find the right search patterns by yourself. And the last advice on that hand is, if you want to get more filters, or if you get a better overview about what is possible by default, you can use the more filters function, which will show more or less every search feature that you have. So that is on the search function. Now I will explain you the channel purposes. Now let's go back to the channel list. So you are seeing here a couple of different topics, and I would cover the most important ones. So from an alphabetical point of view, announcements are meant to be used by ourselves, only by IGEL people, to send out actual informations, news regarding our ecosystem. It can be the IGEL community, but can also be a specific announcement, maybe our IGEL security notice that we want to promote or to show. In that case, we are speaking about tech memories or tech tip Tuesday videos. So you see, it's a general information about what is happening inside of the IGEL ecosystem, especially IGEL community, but not only. Community chit chat is really chatting with all the people on, let's say, non-IGEL topics. So you have a question, a technical question, please don't post it here because it's meant for another purpose. It's just chatting around, asking how the weather in the US is or how the actual situation in political terms is in whatever foreign country. So that's really just meant to exchange personal information or whatever you like to speak with other people around the world. Community code is mostly related to codes, so to scripts, best practices regarding scripting, but also regarding the REST API PowerShell framework that was created by Fark Highland, and whatever people want to share with the community or maybe get an answer to that. If you want to get feedback to the IGEL community, but also to the IGEL products, that's the channel to use. Community feedback will be get reviewed by Douglas Brown and myself, and this feedback will be brought back inside of the company. So here, please do not ask questions regarding a product. It's more meant to get your feedback, positive or negative, regarding a specific topic inside of IGEL. Community NFR, so not for resale, is covering NFR licenses from IGEL, since we are also offering IGEL OS 11 Workspace Edition and Enterprise Management Pack NFR for specific MAC address, but not only our products. You see that we have also NFR kits for control up, for device trust, etc. So it's always good to have a look in that channel if you're looking for a specific demo license. Obviously, you can also ask specific questions regarding the NFR, but here it's really more meant to sharing something. Then if you already attended the Disrupt events, we are sharing information regarding the on-site or virtual events that we are having since 2000 and I must say 2018, I guess, where we are sharing information, pictures, interviews, or whatever regarding the events themselves. So not only IGEL people can post stuff inside of it, but also attendees of the Disrupt events themselves. Then the more general approach, which is covering RSS feeds, which is covering company information from other vendors. We have the end user computing tech blocks, which is really covering, let's say, everything which is happening in the AUC world. So not only IGEL related stuff, but sometimes it is, but in some cases it's also regarding AVD or Citrix news. Then on events, basically every event which is related to the IGEL community. If we have an event like a meetup or a tech talk or whatever, you will find it here and you can then subscribe the information. Obviously, you can also do that over the IGELcommunity.com website, but you can also check it here. IGEL certification, more meant to share your certificate that you're getting through the IGEL Academy platform. So here it's really your turn to share your last achievement certificate that you got through the test. IGEL Cloud Gateway, quite obviously, is related to the IGEL Cloud Gateway product. So if you have issues by registering, installing, connecting the IGEL Cloud Gateway, that would be the right channel to use. Then we have the IGEL custom partitions. So now the terms are a little bit more self-explaining, so I'll just explain that here. Obviously, if you want to ask a question regarding the creation, the maintaining, the update, or whatever questions relating to the deployment of the IGEL custom partition, that's the channel to use for. Then IGEL ecosystem is questions regarding the vendor where
they went through the IGEL Ready program. So your hardware or whatever is delivered by HP or Dell, and you want to ask a specific question regarding the compatibility of a specific piece of hardware. That's the channel to look for. Then the IGEL hardware is really meant for the own IGEL hardware, so the hardware we are producing by ourselves. So speaking about the UD2, UD3, UD7 or whatever, or the UD Pocket maybe, that's the channel to ask the question in. I know that sometimes it's hard to find the right channel, but do not mind, we will help you to find the right one, or if you see that your question would not fit in IGEL UMS but better on IGEL OS, we will ask you to repost it. Then, if you think also about the peripherals, like a specific Wi-Fi dongle, like a specific printer or whatever, which is the IGEL third-party compatibility, you may ask us here. So even if you have a question regarding is this USB stick working on that specific device, or maybe having a specific issue with a device firmware, so a headset firmware, it's good to ask it here. Then we have the IGEL licensing, obviously covering all the licensing questions, the IGEL licensing portal also, but also the UMS part of the IGEL licensing. Then IGEL OS, one of the biggest channels, because most questions are related to the IGEL UMS or IGEL OS. So everything where you're not sure what to ask it, IGEL OS is mostly fitting. After that, IGEL Ready is related to everything which is related to the IGEL Ready program itself, like updates, like new certifications, are there new product in the queue, etc. Then, like I said, after IGEL OS, or together with IGEL OS, one of the most used channels, which is covering everything related to the Universal Management Suite, which can be also the UMS Web Apps, the UMS Console, UMS High Availability, connectivity issues, whatever you think will fit. One of the channels I would like to delete by myself, but we can't because we still have the Universal Management Agent, but also IGEL Windows 10 devices, is the IGEL Windows or Win 10 channel. So here, like you already have heard a couple of seconds ago, we are only covering IGEL Windows components. We are not covering a Citrix VDA question regarding Windows 10 VDI. No, we are really speaking about the endpoint. The endpoint running Windows 7 embedded, maybe XP embedded. I do not hope so, but who knows. Also, Windows 10 IoT devices from IGEL. Or if you are using the Universal Management Agent product, which is the agent that you can deploy on more or less every Windows 10 or Windows 7 installation to get it on board into the IGEL UMS as a kind of Windows 10 or Windows endpoint and deliver profiles to it, that's the channel to look for. New product releases, we are posting the release notes, not the download link, to be absolutely clear regarding private builds, or in specific cases, new firmware version that we're delivering to the market, but also new UMS versions or ICE versions will be shared there. If it's a public release, you will get the download link. On private builds, it's only on demand. Then official IGEL news. It's a little bit comparable to the NUC tech blogs, but here only really for the IGEL informations coming from the community, but also from the company itself. And last but not least, we have the OS operating system customizations. So everything which will fit in graphical user interface customizations, but also custom command that you want to use, which will not fit in the community code because it's something which is maybe more basic or just a hand or just a behavior question, but it will better fit here. Now I will show you how to sort and hide channels. So now I would like to switch to another topic, and we just went through the channels, but you see that there are maybe some channels who are not interesting for you. So that's the reason why I'm also using a feature which is called sorting of channels, which I put in different sections. So for doing that, just click on the three dots, which is also called select options. Go to create new section and choose whatever name you want to use. It's only for you, it's not published publicly. Let me just put a new section which is called News. And now you can click on every channel that you do not want to see, let's say every time, but only on demand, by just right-clicking the corresponding channel and move the channel to News. Right, so you see that it's not listed under channels anymore, but under News. And you can do so for every channel that you do not want to get in the main overview, or you just want to see them if you expand the news feature. That I like to use for the events, for the end user tech blogs, because I'm looking at them one time a day, sometimes a little bit more often, but I don't want to be distracted by getting notification there. So you can do that for every section that you want, and after that it will just disappear here, and you will see if a new message is coming up still, but you will not get the notification in the main window anymore. So I just went through all the channels that I do not want to see, I just keep them. So you see now that I just have a small list of channels where I will get a notification as soon as someone is sending out something.
Now I will show you how to manage the notifications of the Slack client.
Now, if you're already using Slack, or if you're already using the IGEL Community for a couple of months, weeks, years ago, you might see that sometimes the communication is quite extensive. So you might get a lot of notifications and you don't want to get distracted by them. So you will obviously close the Slack client and restart it on demand. But it's something that you do not need to use. You can also configure your preferences as you wish. So first of all, you can pull the notifications over your icon, so your user account, and saying that for the next hours or until tomorrow or any kind of custom field, no desktop notifications will be shown anymore. So you not get distracted if you're on a meeting, on a call or whatever, but it will be resetted after a couple of hours, minutes, whatever you like. At the same time, you have the general preferences. And that's something that I switched for me personally to get a notification about all new messages, not only direct messages or mentions, because obviously I would like to see if a new question is coming up, which was not written by myself. And that's something that I'm using for really getting everything. But you're not obliged to do so. You can also set nothing and only on demand and clicking on the corresponding channels. But one feature which is extremely helpful, I find, is to have some keywords. Let's say that you're interested in every question which is related to, I don't know, HP devices, or maybe using the term of Citrix, or webcams. You can enter the keywords that will be searched for as soon as someone hit a new topic and get a specific notification out of it. So it's really your own filter for specific notification corresponding to a specific keyword. And that's something that I find extremely helpful if you are using a specific technology or using a specific product maybe, or having a specific issue, to not get everything, even if you would like to see you there, but you're not obliged to. You can just search for whatever you like. And now you can go even deeper in the configuration by scrolling down and setting specific notification schedules where you do not want to receive or to receive a notification. So it's especially interesting if you leave your company or private laptop open the whole night and connect it to your speakers. You don't want to get a notification sound every time. So you can do that here. Or if you want to tweak a little bit more around, you can also say that the notification window will pop up always or only when left idle. And that's something which is extremely a personal feeling about how you want to deal with the notifications. For myself, I prefer to get everything in time and not delayed. But obviously we have another approach like you would do on the IGEL Community, so it depends on your needs. The only thing that I would recommend is to deactivate the send me email notifications, because obviously if you have already the Slack client started, you don't want to get in addition also a notification via email.
Now I will show you how to write direct messages, also known as PM.
So now let's switch to the last part of this tutorial, is to write to specific persons in person without having the need to send something publicly. So click on the plus button for open a direct message. Then search for the name you want to write to. So you see the name, just click on it. And now you can send your first message. So, hello world, how are you doing? And like I said, if I hit enter now, it will send the message, which is great in that specific case. But like I said, if you're writing a longer text, it's even better to use the uppercase or shift key, press and then enter. And then let's see if someone is answering. There you see, you will get it directly inside of it. If you want to add a specific file or specific screenshot, you can just add it here. Or if you prefer to add some emoticons or specific formats, you can also do that in the formatting window. Now I'll show you how to subscribe hidden channels. We have technology partners which went through the IGEL Ready program, like Device Trust, like LG Endpoints, like Controller. They are also having private channels which are not publicly available because we do not want to make some publicity advertisements. So you have to add them by hand by going to channels, going to browse channels, and now you can just enter TP for technology partner minus in the search list and add whatever you want to join. So just be aware that these channels are really maintained by the vendor themselves, not by IGEL. So you will get also there maybe publicity or whatever, but it's mostly related to tech information. So it's extremely helpful to join them. So let's jump in on ThinPrint maybe and click join. So now you see the channel in your list and you can click on it and maybe ask a specific question regarding the ThinPrint solution or just consuming the content. And if you want to add more, just redo the same step by clicking Browse Channels and choose another one. Now I will show you how to set your personal informations. Now that we covered most of the Slack features themselves, I would like to guide you through the Getting Started section, because you see we still need to add a picture. It's not mandatory, obviously, but it definitely helps to get a better picture of you. So if you would like to add a personal picture, that would be great. Instead of, you can also use any kind of picture that you would like to represent you. In my case, I just use a hedgehog. Positioning is great. I could definitely also add some filter, but that's more than enough. Then in the next step, if you would like, but not mandatory, you can also use specific apps to connect the Slack client to your management, like OneDrive, Google Drive, GitHub, or whatever you like. And if you can, I would also like to see your profile. So it would be great if you could edit it and add some personal information. Your full name, obviously, would like to see in which country you're working, and if you could, also the company you're working for. But like I said, nothing of them are mandatory, but would like to help us to better know you. The what I do and country, LinkedIn and Twitter are the most common used information shared with us. Now I will show you external resources. Then, now we are leaving the Slack client, but moving to the IGEL community itself. So going to the website igelcommunity.com, you will see the different resources we are offering. And just because you might be new to us, I would like to cover a few of them to get you started properly. First of all is the Get Started section, where you will get a step-by-step guide for more or less every use case that we are covering on IGEL. So it starts over the general installation of the management system, the IGEL Cloud Gateway, but also the operating system. Then guide you through the different customizing features, so uploading your own wallpapers, your own logos from your companies or the corporate identity stuff, all the firmware updates, or as soon as you are set and you will start to evaluate our solution, the IGEL OS Unified Communication Guide written by Lars Glöckner. Then the blog itself, so we have new information coming up quite often, coming from IGEL community members, sometimes from myself, from Sebastian Perusat, or from other colleagues. So if you would like to keep an eye on it. That's something that we share also in IGEL Community, but the main blog is happening on the IGEL Community website. The events, since we are offering also meetups where you can subscribe without any cost, obviously, you will get information about new product, about strategical information regarding the company, or in our case, the Q&A with our CEO, Jed Aris. So just subscribe for new events. Then last but not least, a new subsite, which is called videos.igelcommunity.com. All the videos about all the topics that are covered from the IGEL Community. So it starts over the recordings of the meetups that we already had, from the beginning on the meetup history, over different categories of videos, like the Tech Tip Tuesday videos, or whatever tutorial that we recorded for you. If you have a topic that is not covered by the video section, just feel free to reach out to us and help us to make us even better.
Thank you for joining our technical video session. All links mentioned in this session are available in the show notes section of this video. You will find more technical content and other videos on igelcommunity.com and IGEL Academy learn.igel.com.